Happy Monday night, everyone, and welcome to a nice little makeup podcast. Since we weren't here on Saturday to do our, sorry, excuse me, I'm already clearing my throat, to do our Saturday wingy because I had a lot going on, plus it was Super Bowl weekend. So I told you guys we would just come up here tonight instead after Raw and catch up on whatever we have missed, and we have missed a lot. Now, I did drop a mic drop on you guys yesterday ahead of the Super Bowl, just talking about 10 or so of the WWE releases that we learned about over the weekend. Well, today we learned about some more on the other side in AEW. AEW finally coming to terms with the release of 3 of its stars. Malakai Black, Miro, and Ricky Starks are all officially free agents. So it looks like some things have worked out, and the free agent pool right now in pro wrestling has got some talent in it. And we'll discuss, what this might mean, who will and won't go to WWE. I personally believe that all 3 of them are, as Tito is trying. I wish you guys could see. Tito's head is over top of my webcam right now, looking right at me. Hey, buddy, will you get out of here, please? He looks like he's into mischief. But the releases were kind of interesting because you have to wonder how that's going to factor into WrestleMania and if WWE is even going to attempt to bring any of these guys in while they're in the middle of building Mania and how this is all going to work. We don't have to wait anymore for any of them. They are free and clear contractually to appear anywhere they want tomorrow. So that means we could see them imminently, at least on the Indies or perhaps even in WWE. Now, on Friday night, Ricky Starks did defeat Kenta to win the DeFi World Championship. So he's back working. He's got a belt around his waist now, and I think it would probably be only a matter of time before we see all 3 of them in WWE back, hopefully. Will you guys just give me 1 second so I can shoo this idiot away? Tito, hey, get in there. There we go. All right, I got him out of here. He was just kind of creeping me out. WrestleMania 19 where Vince looks up over the apron. That's what he was just doing to me right now, just minus the bloody face. So in addition to our free agent news, we got a couple of other news tidbits to get into. And plus, we'll just give a general idea of what we've seen in the past week in terms of the wrestling shows, because I thought AEW delivered a pretty solid Dynamite on Wednesday and a really good Collision on Saturday night. WWE, of course, Friday night SmackDown had more Elimination Chamber stuff and kind of closed in a really, really disappointing way with Solo Sikoa attacking Cody. And fans were really pissed about that. But I don't really understand why. It kind of made sense to me. The match was involving the bad bloodline and Cody and Jay, and that's where Solo came back. I don't think that means that Solo Sikoa is going to face Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania or anything like that. So I think fans need to chill just a little bit and see where that goes. I think it might wind up leading to something between Solo and Jacob down the road. So Solo coming back wasn't enough to make me say, I can't watch WWE anymore, but it sure as hell pissed off a lot of the wrestling audience, which I just don't get it. I understand that nobody wants to see Solo and Cody again, but, shit, man. I don't know what to tell you. So we had SmackDown, a little bit disappointing, but like I said, some Elimination Chamber, qualifiers and whatnot. And then tonight on Raw, we had a few more Elimination Chamber qualifiers, and now we're really getting down to the end here for the men and women. Just to read off what I have here briefly for the Chamber, after tonight, we saw Logan Paul qualifying in the main event, beating Rey Mysterio tonight on Raw, and Cena, CM Punk, and Drew McIntyre are also in. So that is 4 names total. Seth Rollins and Finn Balor face next week on Raw for the 5th spot. And then I wasn't sure about the final spot. I just asked a question on Twitter to you guys. I said, is Balor and Seth the only qualifier that's left announced? Because that still leaves 1 spot open. And I was thinking about my original plan from a couple of weeks ago. I think Roman Reigns can still sneak in the back door there and get in. But one of you informed me, I think it was Ryan, that they have scheduled a triple threat on SmackDown. I think it's Priest and Strowman and somebody else. I forgot. Fatu. Priest and Jacob and Braun Strowman, I think in a 3-way on SmackDown for that final spot. So this idea that I had that Roman Reigns could still get in the Chamber, still win the thing, challenge Cody, and then you could add CM Punk and Seth Rollins, making it a fatal 4-way, sounds like that will not be happening. They have written Roman Reigns off. That way he doesn't have to be in the Chamber to take a pin or whatever it is. And that was the injury deal they did at the Rumble, which we speculated about after the stomps, after the Rumble. I said, was that their way of writing him out of Chamber? Because if Roman Reigns is healthy, his character would want to be in the chamber. His character would absolutely want to regain his championship. So if that's not the plan internally, WWE is going to have to give us a reason as to why that's not happening. And I believe Rollins doing what he did to Roman was that reason. So he will not be in the chamber, not even booked for it at all, which means Roman Reigns will not be in either WrestleMania main event this year. I think that's pretty amazing that it's not going to be him. It's going to be Jey Uso and Gunther. We found that out tonight. And it's probably going to be Cody Rhodes and either Punk, Drew, or Cena. This idea that it's going to be a triple threat, I think, is still possible. But without Roman, I don't know how you get there, but CM Punk is still owed that favor, so I don't know how all of that's going to play in. I was assuming Punk's favor would factor into a Mania title match where he would horn in on something that Roman Reigns is doing, but what is Roman Reigns going to do if he's not in one of the two main events? I would assume he's going to face Seth Rollins. So it might be Punk, Rollins, Roman, just like we thought or speculated about after the Rumble, that being a possibility. Only no championship match. That's just going to be maybe semi-main on night 2 or something. And then Cody will defend the title against either Cena or Drew. I guess. Shit. Let me know what you guys think, what direction you think all this is going. We'll be discussing it here as we go through. In terms of tonight's Raw, I thought it was an okay show, but it seemed like it was not very wrestling heavy. It was a lot of entrances, a lot of BS. I think we only got, 4 matches maybe, a lot of interviews, a lot of confrontations. And I think the women really stood out the most tonight. That tag team match was tremendous. Liv Morgan and Raquel against Io Sky and Dakota Kai and Io Sky. I think that Liv, since dropping the title, she's been killing it. I'm not imagining that, right? She's really been putting on some bangers lately, and she got busted open again tonight. Wasn't she busted open not long ago? And she had a nasty gash under her eye that you could see later on in a backstage segment, and had blood all over her face, and I thought that match was really fun and really entertaining. Other than that, I think the rest of the show was maybe just okay, but let me know what you guys think of it there in the chat, and we'll be getting into the results of Raw. We'll talk about, like I said, a little bit of SmackDown, a little bit of Dynamite, a little bit of Collision, but nothing major, just skimming over some of the big parts. We'll take a look at what we're looking at now for the Chamber and for this Saturday's Grand Slam, which has about 5 matches on it, which I'm hoping, based on the card that I'm reading right now, that Mariah May and Toni Storm is the main event of that card. It has to be, right? It has to be, right? It has to be. I can't, if they do anything other than Mariah May and Toni Storm in the main event, I'm going to be fucking pissed. And I don't get pissed about wrestling. Life's too short. But I will genuinely be pissed about that if it turns out to be that damn tag with Moxley and Cope or whatever. So we'll take a look at the upcoming PLEs or TV specials that we have coming up. Now, Grand Slam is this coming Saturday, which is going to air on a tape delay because it's going to be recorded in Australia, but then it's going to air following the NBA All-Star festivities on Saturday. So if anybody has a general idea of what time you think that might start, let me know in the chat because I have no idea at this point. But if it's going to start kind of later at night, well, no, it definitely won't. I'm on the West Coast. I was about to say, if it's going to start at 10 p.m. for me, I might be able to get home from work in time to bust out a watch-along, but no, I don't think it's going to work like that. So only if it's really, really, really late at night. So we might plan something next Saturday. If I watch the show and it's 2 a.m., I might bust out a mic drop, 30 quick minutes of thoughts on the show. You never know. So keep that in mind for next week. But we'll definitely be here most likely on Saturday for the podcast. And next Sunday, we'll be here for another watch-along. And the link to that is already up. St. Valentine's Massacre from 1999. So we'll be watching that one on Sunday. It's good to see everybody here in the chat. Sorry, I'm just kind of running my mouth and saying hello. Just so much stuff to vomit out at you. I hope you guys had a great Super Bowl. Hope you were happy. It sounds like the entire country is very pleased with the result of last night's Super Bowl. My only question is, I thought it was rigged. Everybody said it was rigged. So what made it all of a sudden not rigged? See how stupid that sounds for all you fucking MAGAs out there? Like, all I heard about the NFL all season long is it's rigged. They want the Chiefs to win, and there's AI videos of Pat Mahomes making out with referees and shit. So I'm like, okay, the public has decided this is the way it is, even though it's not true. They've decided it's true in their head, and that's all they need. So my question to all you, it's rigged people, Why wasn't it rigged? Why wasn't it rigged? Still haven't had an answer. Just curious. Congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles, who beat the absolute fuck out of the Kansas City Chiefs. I was at my sister's house last night. That is a Kansas City Chiefs house. My brother-in-law and his family were, born and raised there, love the team. So I've been there the past Super Bowls to watch them win. And I had to sit with them last night while their team got completely fucking spanked like nothing I've ever seen. But Eagles had, they had an axe to grind, man. They probably felt like they should have won that Super Bowl a couple years ago. So they had much different motivations, and I'm not one to underestimate the heart of a champion. We saw what Brady and that Patriots dynasty did so many times coming from behind. But you could literally tell 3 minutes into the game, it was over. And I was putting that on social media. This game's done. Everybody's like, you don't know Mahomes very well. You must not watch many Chiefs games. I'm like, I watch a ton of Chiefs games. They're champions. I have a shitload of respect for them. But sometimes you can just tell. I'm not stupid. We can all see what's going on here. They're getting their asses kicked, and I thought it was a hell of a performance by the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't have any love for that team at all, but if you are a fan of the Eagles, I'm happy for you, man, because that was a fucking win. If your team makes it to the Super Bowl, that's how you want to win, by smacking down the champs. Something fierce, man. My God. So anyway, congrats, and I hope whatever you guys did yesterday for the Super Bowl, it was a blast. Let's say hello to some people. Like Garrett Osborne, Doug Unfunny. We got Rodrigo, Ben Espinoza, 7th Season, David Brown, Ricky Zalvadar, Red Raven Rucker, Ken Webb, Isaac, Joshua Aparicio, Sonic Plays. We've got Shell Shock, Super Fluffy Toaster, Barry MK chiming in with $2 all the way from Hawaii. Liv has become my new favorite girl. She's been great. She has been really tremendous. I was worried that maybe the title run last year was somewhat forced, but she really fell into it well. Her first, she's held the title once or twice before, right? Like the SmackDown, the blue one and shit. And all of those felt like they were just giving you the title here. You've been around long enough here. Here's the title, which is what they felt like they've done with so many women over the years. But Liv, she really leaned into that. She played that character, and she's still playing that character to absolute perfection. She really is annoying. You want to smack her, like you just look at her on screen, the way she's laughing and not cry about it. You're like, "Urgh," so that's what you want heels to do. She's doing so good. Fucking wicked proud of her. So she's really come around. I've really been enjoying her, and she's been really tearing it up in the ring. The qualifier, right? It was the qualifier she had, last week was good. And the tag match tonight with EO and Dakota was tremendous, and Liv getting banged up again. So I'm with you, Barry. I'm liking me some Liv Morgan right now. Ajax Johnson, always happy to see you. Zach, did I get you? I think I did. The new ones in the house. Everybody else that's chiming in, good to see you. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Smash Mr. Thumbs Up button. Subscribe if you are not already, but judging from the names I read, y'all are all subscribed. So let's get into what to discuss. Really not much to tell you about for this week other than Podcast Saturday, St. Valentine's Day Massacre Watch-Along this coming Sunday. I'm currently free on Thursday, so maybe we'll do something. I still have 4 shorts in the can that I have not released. I'll drop another one of those maybe tonight. And a lot of Mania plans, that type of thing. So let's talk about the big news first. Let's talk about the news of the day. It was announced today that 3 major stars in AEW, all 3 of which we have been expecting to be departing the company, but there have been various, situations. Each person's situation is kind of different. A lot of contract stuff, a lot of options, things like that, and a lot of time still remaining on 3 stars: Miro, Malakai Black, and Ricky Starks. Now, Malakai, we were all expecting to already be gone from the company. He kind of wrapped up business on Dynamite or on AEW. And then Julia Hart and Brody King released a vignette kind of signifying them moving on without him. So many of us were expecting Aleister Black to show up at the Royal Rumble. He didn't, but we figured he's on his way in, but nobody really knows exactly when. We haven't gotten any confirmation on these contracts. Ricky Starks, same thing. We know he's got some time left. We know he did ask for his option to not be picked up, but they picked it up. And then he was off TV all year, made some indie appearances, pulled from some indie appearances, and then on Friday, he beat Kenta to win the DeFi World Heavyweight Championship, or the World Championship. So he's back in the mix, and now we heard about that as of today, he is also free and clear. Miro is another one. He hasn't even wrestled since 2023, and another guy that's just been off TV, does not feel like he wants to be there. Miro and Black especially felt like it was instant regret from the moment they got there. I enjoyed Miro. I'm not the type of fan that's just gonna automatically, instinctively, like Pavlov's dog, just blame Tony Khan for every single piece of talent that hasn't worked out. We don't know the full story. But with Miro, it's extremely frustrating. You have to wonder what the hell was going on back there. This guy was on the cusp. That Redeemer gimmick is one of my favorite things that company has ever done. I mean, he felt unstoppable. I remember when Sammy Guevara beat him for the TNT title, being really surprised about that, because I was like, I would just have him tear through people, and it felt like one of the biggest fumbles, because WWE, I felt like, fumbled Rusev Day. Anything that they don't want or plan to get over, they're going to reject. And that Rusev Day shit got over on its own. Felt like they resented him for it and fucking buried him, and he was gone. And Miro has got talent. He's got great comedic timing. He's a funny person. He's big, believable, scary. He's got presence to him. There's nothing about this package that, that's a negative. And so when AEW got him, it felt like they were doing right where WWE was doing wrong. Like, they took Miro and utilized him to his potential. It started slow, came in weird, the video game thing, and I remember a couple outfits he was wearing, his first couple of TV appearances were a little odd. But once he fell into that Redeemer gimmick, I feel like that could still be going strong today in AEW. That's how good it was. But for whatever reason, shit the bed, and it's one to where I feel like that one's on TK. But that's just a guess. All I'm doing is guessing. I'm just guessing. Like, feels like that one's more on TK. Maybe some other situations don't fully fall on his shoulders, but this one kind of does, because I felt like that was a money-making character, and that was somebody that you could have ran with, and for whatever reason, they chose not to. So now, Miro, I'm assuming WWE will bring him back in. I would. And maybe they can do right by him this time, because I remember when he left, didn't he like get beat or squashed by like Randy Orton at SummerSlam, like on his way out the door? So, he wasn't treated well on his way out. Not sure if there's any ill feelings left over from Miro, but now with Vince McMahon gone, I'm sure a lot of the talent that used to be there probably feels a lot better about going back. And if they do have any ill feelings towards WWE, much like CM Punk, their ill feelings toward AEW might, be bigger than their former feelings towards WWE. So I personally predict all three of them coming in. Don't know how it's all going to work with WrestleMania, if we're going to have to wait until after Mania for one or two of these, or all of them, or if they're all going to be in before. If anybody's going to hit NXT first, like Ricky Starks, well, no NXT. I know nobody wants him to go to NXT. Everybody feels like that's an insult. I personally don't. If Ricky Starks went to NXT for a month, I'm not going to fucking climb a mountain and jump off. No big deal. It's not that deep. So for me, I think it'll just be interesting to see the timing on them coming back, because I believe Malakai Black especially absolutely is got to come back in. I mean, he's got to. The other two, I think it could maybe be a little longer. Like, I feel like Malakai we could see, or Alistair, I guess I should start calling him again. I feel like we could see tomorrow, where the other two, maybe after Mania. We'll just have to wait and see. Here is what Fightful Select had to say about these releases earlier on today, after it was confirmed they were all gone. I believe it was PW Insider who broke the news of all three of these guys being gone. And here's an update from Fightful Select today. Malakai Black's original deal could have seen him signed well into 2027, at least per Tony Khan's own words a couple of years back. Fightful had reported in December that Black would be leaving AEW in the coming months, and by January had been reported that he would no longer be on TV. Miro has not wrestled since 2023 and has been discussed for potential creative throughout the year. He's been healthy and has been cleared for quite some time, but Fightful reported that he'd asked for his release quite a while back as well. We're told the situation had gone gone radio silent for quite some time before the release was official. Miro had not been brought up creatively from what we've heard in about 6 months, and most everyone we spoke to in AEW had not expected to see him again. Miro signed a long-term contract extension in early 2022 that could have kept him in the company until 2026. And I remember when he signed that extension, and it was like instant. Like, why did he do that? He, then fell off the face of the earth after that. Ricky Starks had asked AEW in late 2023 to not pick up his option that was coming due in the spring. AEW did, and then didn't use Starks after that period. We're told he was open to still working and seeing out his AEW deal. Starks was blocked from working a series of GCW shows. Before his release, his deal would have been up in a few months. We're told all of the talent are free to go wherever they choose, and there are no non-competes associated with the releases. So that's good news. That means the chains are finally off of these guys. I'm not, I don't want to pick sides in this type of stuff. I'm looking at all of this from a fan's perspective. And from a fan's perspective, it's frustrating to see 3 pieces of talent that could definitely be doing meaningful things in the company not doing jack shit. So I'm very happy. They're all free and clear now. Maybe it's just not an automatic thing that they're going to go right to WWE. Maybe Black will. But, maybe Ricky Starks pokes around the indies a little more, maybe does some GCW shows since he's not, not forbidden to work them anymore before he inks up a new deal. Because if you've had a really, really bad experience with a contract and you've been, held hostage or something like that, is the first thing you want to do is go right back into another contract? It's kind of like when you end a long-term relationship. If you're with your spouse or your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whatever for 8 years and then you break up, do you want to jump right into a relationship? Don't you want to be free for a while? Don't you need a year to kind of decompress your head and whatnot before you just sign another contract, to have some, woman make your life miserable for another 8 years? I just think that I might not want to do that if I'm one of these talents. No, I just don't want to I don't want to feel held down. And AEW, you actually have more freedom with how you live your life than WWE. So if you've already got a sour taste in your mouth about contracts, are you going to want to sign your life away to WWE, who micromanages when you take a damn piss? So I don't know, but I still think all 3 of them are way too talented to just sit and putter around the indies for too long. So I'm excited to see how all of this shakes out and see where they go. I think this is a big step forward for AEW. If there's anybody else backstage that's like this or has a situation similar to these guys, maybe even some that the fans don't know about, Tony Khan should just take a look at his whole roster and look at whose contract's coming up, who's happy, who's unhappy, and try to find the most unhappy motherfuckers. And if they got anything less than a year left on their deal, cut them all. Cut them all. Flood the market. That's what I would do. Instead of giving WWE little pieces at a time, just flood them. Say, here you go. You can't sign them all. That's what WWE was doing for a few years. Kind of similar. So that's kind of what I would do if I was Tony Khan. It would be strategic timing, I think, if you did release a bunch of talent right in the middle of WrestleMania season when WWE's got so many other things to think about right now. And might not be a good time for a Ricky Starks or a Miro or a Malakai Black to come in and debut when everything is so focused on building your Mania programs. Now you're throwing wrenches in there, and some of those are welcomed wrenches. Cody was a welcomed wrench, so if you can get your hands on a Malakai, boom, you throw him right into the Wyatt Six situation. You get your hands on Starks. He can show up as maybe some backup to Cody Rhodes, and you can just do a million different things with Miro, who I'm assuming they will call Rusev again, but I like Miro better. But if he comes back in, he's probably going to be Rusev. Although Fandango came back to NXT last week, right? And he was, I don't even know what his name is. It's like initials or something, right? And then still curious what's going to happen when Nick Nemeth, if he ever shows up in WWE, if he'll be Dolph Ziggler. That's Nick Nemeth, formerly Dolph Ziggler. I don't know how they're going to reference him. So I'm curious about how all that's going to go down. But I doubt WWE is going to use an AEW, created name. I don't think AEW has Miro trademarked or anything. He probably could use Miro, at least I think. I don't know. But he probably won't. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting, too, to see where some of these WWE releases happen. Now, like I said, we weren't here on Saturday to do the podcast, and I felt bad about that. So on Sunday morning, like 1 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, I was reading about all these releases, and so I dropped a mic drop on the channel. So you guys did hear me. Those of you who saw that video, it's about 20 minutes long. I did talk about Cedric Alexander, Isla Dawn, the Good Brothers, AOP and Paul Ellering, Sonya Deville, and Giovanni Vinci. We talked about all of those releases. I did forget one. I forgot to mention one. Blair Davenport also let go. And, that was another crazy one because she was inexplicably called up to the main roster, right? Like, that's very frustrating. That's a problem that used to be there with Vince. And it was something that I complained about a lot over the years. I said, stop calling up NXT talent without any plans. You just basically are texting them, say, come to TV, and you don't know what the fuck you're going to do with them. That doesn't do them any favors. And they screwed up so many other pieces of talent like that by just bringing them in and then saying, oh, we don't know what to do with them. And I was kind of hoping that shit was done with Triple H. He's got a little bit more of a plan. He's not going to, I felt like Vince McMahon and the main roster, kind of screwed with Triple H a little bit sometimes in NXT. He would work so hard to develop these stars, and then they'd bring them up and strip them of everything, of all Triple H's work. And I feel like Triple H would be much better to Shawn than maybe Vince was to Triple H in those situations. So I feel like Blair shouldn't have gotten released because you're the assholes that called her up. What happened? You wanted her on the main roster. It's not her fault you didn't use her. Did she just not impress you backstage? She walk around, she, drop a ball and then kick it and then, ram her face into the wall. Like, I don't understand what she did that would make you release her when you were ready to move her from developmental to the main roster. You didn't give her a chance. So I feel bad. But like I talked about several different times in that video, that mic drop on Sunday, yesterday, I said, chill, man. Releases are a part of life. We go through this once, twice, sometimes more every year with WWE, sometimes with AEW as well. And the fans behave the same exact way every time. Oh, they're outraged for a little while and then they forget about it 3 days later. So releases suck. It sucks when you see good talent let go. But most of them who were released by WWE, and definitely the 3 by AEW today, are all going to be fine, probably won't struggle to find work. But I'm not going to waste my time getting upset about Isla Dawn, who did bum me out, or anybody like that, because this always happens. Every year, releases happen. Some of them you understand. Some of them leave you scratching your head a bit. And this was no different in WWE anyway. And also, yesterday, it was announced that Elektra Lopez has also been let go. So I don't know when that release officially happened, but I believe we heard about it yesterday. So I didn't talk about Elektra in the mic drop either. So Elektra and Blair I hadn't talked about yet, but we did discuss the others. And the Good Brothers, I totally get that. Anderson's been hurt. I don't even know why they brought them back in, maybe as a favor to AJ. So them being let go is understandable. AOP and Paul Ellering, I hate that they got released again. I think it's weird that we heard rumors of them coming back in for a full year before they got there, and then they spent less time on TV than they did off TV when we were hearing about them coming in. But I get it. They don't really fit in with Cross now. For the first time ever, I like what Cross is doing. Like, I liked him when he first came in NXT, and then fucking Adam Cole laid down a Kendrick Lamar diss promo on him, and he never recovered. And so everything he's done since then, I haven't even been remotely interested in until recently, because one thing I've always known about Cross is that he does have ability to talk and stuff. So now that they're kind of giving him this, kind of mischievous, manipulative character, getting in people's ear and whatnot, starting to hobnob a little bit with the top of the card. I like that, so I can understand cutting AOP and Ellering at this point, because that faction doesn't really work with what he's doing. So I get it. Sonya Deville was a rough one. You feel bad for her. She's been through, a bunch of shit in the last couple of years. But she had issues with her ring work that was recognizable. You could see it and stuff. So wish the best to her. And Giovanni Vinci is just another, what are they doing? They broke him away from Imperium, made him into this single SmackDown star, and he got beat in 10 seconds, then got beat in 10 seconds again, and then fired. It's the way it is, man. So all the best to everyone who is released, and all the best to everyone who is inking up new deals with their companies. If I had to guess, Starks, Miro, and Malakai will all be in WWE. And provided there are no more hard feelings, and there very well still could be, there were some problems when Big Swole left AEW. She is married to Cedric Alexander, so I don't know if it's a given that he's going to join the Hurt Syndicate, but I would hope that things can get worked out there and maybe, they can bridge the gap or maybe reconcile. I mean, maybe not only Cedric could get into AEW, maybe Big Swole could come back too. That's a big if. Maybe we won't see either one of them there, but something to think about. And I'd like to see Isla Dawn in AEW too. Everybody else, best of luck to them. Best of luck. We got to read this because this news came out today. WWE has filed for what has to be about a dozen new trademarks for, I'm assuming, wrestlers' names. And they're exactly what you'd expect, but there's a couple of great ones in here. First one is, I don't know if it's Osiris or Osiris, Osiris. I don't know how you pronounce this. Osiris Griffin. Okay. This is my favorite. This is my favorite one. Hayes Jameson. Hayes Jameson. That is a rib or something. I don't even know. That feels like that's a direct reference to something going on backstage. Hayes Jameson. Oh, that's great. It's half porn sounding. I mean, well, all wrestlers' names could double for porn names, but Hayes Jameson definitely could. Trill London, Trill, Trill London. Harley Riggins, Summer Sorrell, Jax Presley, JAX, Mason Holiday. I feel like we've already had that one. Draco Knox. Draco Knox. All I know is I hope Ricky Starks is Hayes Jameson. That would be awesome. We also have Tate Wilder, Braxton Cole, Chantel Monroe, and Aria Bennett. Osiris Griffin, Hayes Jameson, Trill London, Harley Riggins, Summer Sorrell, Jax Presley, Mason Holiday, Draco Knox, Tate Wilder, Braxton Cole, Chantel Monroe, Aria Bennett. And then we wonder why we have stupid-ass names like Braun Breaker running around this company. Jesus, man. All I know is I cannot wait for Hayes Jameson to main event WrestleMania. That's all I care about. I don't give a shit what these other 11 names do. If Hayes Jameson main events WrestleMania, I'll die a happy man. That's all that matters. That's kind of it for the news tidbits. Before we jump into Monday Night Raw, let's just back up a minute. The interview, Eminem says he's gay. Let's talk about SmackDown. We're not going to review SmackDown. Let's just talk about like 3 things on SmackDown on Friday. Charlotte was there to do the Tiffany promo, so she's still kind of making up her mind. She has not made her mind up yet. Jay has, Charlotte has not. So we finally got the first interaction between Charlotte and Tiffany. Charlotte was playing much more of a heel role in this, and I really liked what she was wearing compared to the yellow raincoat she wore last Monday on Raw, which made her look like a dickhead. On Friday, she wore something that I would expect her to wear, and she looked great. We had Alexa Bliss qualifying for the Chamber. She beat Candice LeRae. I kind of like that match because they kind of look alike. And did Candice and Alexa ever have any run-ins prior to Alexa leaving TV or having her baby? Was this their first match ever? I'm curious. But Alexa got the win. She is in the Chamber. We also had some interesting stuff with Drew McIntyre that I wanted to bring up because if you guys remember, we heard the story about the Royal Rumble where McIntyre was pissed off. He stormed out and left, talking about people needing to get their shit in and not getting the match over. And he was all mad because his elimination didn't happen exactly when it was supposed to. And from what everybody could tell, from what the reports were saying, he was mad at LA Knight for screwing up or causing that issue. Well, they're both on SmackDown, and they were booked in an Elimination Chamber qualifier in a 3-way, Drew McIntyre, LA Knight, and Jimmy Uso. So Drew comes out on SmackDown. He is officially now, by the way, on SmackDown, which WWE took the time to make this announcement, but I already thought he was. I thought that's what the whole damn transfer window was. Drew's already been over there. So I thought Drew already was on SmackDown, but I guess they made it official now. Okay, that transfer window is stupid. I'm glad it's done. So he's there. He's cutting his promo, and he's interrupted by Jimmy Uso and LA Knight. And LA Knight's was really interesting because LA Knight took the time, and I'm not sure the context of this, when he was cutting his promo in the aisleway, to look in the camera and talk to all the men in the audience. And he says, it's okay to cry. If life's ever getting you down or you're ever going through something traumatic, don't feel like you can't cry. And I really appreciate that message. I really do. Men do need to hear that. Men need to hear it real, real bad these days. And I like that, but I'm like, why? Did something happen at the Royal Rumble? Did he cry? And he's just letting everybody know it's okay? I don't know. And then before he hit the ring, he said, oh, wait, I forgot to get my stuff in. So I love that. I love that they're acknowledging that we heard something happened and all that. So this idea that the dirt sheets are always wrong and all that, I'm like, well, this is a story that WWE is kind of acknowledging here that we heard about regarding the Royal Rumble. And it definitely didn't feel like it was a work because it would have made no sense for it to be a work. You know, you really want to have Drew McIntyre. You want to make a storyline out of Drew McIntyre getting mad that his planned elimination didn't go as planned. You know, what are we doing? So we've already peeled back the curtain enough. Let's not start bringing this shit into storylines. So everybody felt like it was legit, and McIntyre and Knight are pros. If McIntyre was pissed, I'm sure it's all been worked out. You know, it's WrestleMania season. These guys aren't going to do anything to fuck up their own spot. So if McIntyre's mad, whatever the deal was, I'm sure he's pissed at LA Knight or whatever's going on backstage, but I really doubt that that's something you would have seen spilling over into TV. And I'm curious if WWE was in agreement with Drew McIntyre, if maybe, you know, LA Knight got slightly reprimanded for that. And when they announced the match, I was thinking, oh, that's going to be your receipt. Yeah, for sure. And he did take the pin. Claymore to LA Knight for the win. Drew is in the Elimination Chamber. And then we had the main event on SmackDown. We had Jay showing up there, cutting his promo with Cody Rhodes, and that set up a tag team match main event. Cody and Jay, former tag team champions, taking on Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga. Cody and Jay got the win, and then after the match, Solo Sikoa showed up and Samoan spiked Cody Rhodes. So a lot of fans were really upset about that. Oh, here we go again with this, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. I know everybody hates Solo, but he's still a part of this angle with the bloodline. And I think, you know, I understand that, you know, they're still messing around with Cody. I get that, but look at what the main event was. Cody was in the main event. He was facing bloodline guys. So you should have been mad about that too. Oh, Cody against the bloodline again? I didn't hear much of that though. I only heard the complaining when Solo came back. So it shouldn't be out of the realm of possibility that a member of the bad bloodline shows up in a match the bad bloodline is in. Why were fans confused by this? I don't think it means that we're heading into Cody and the bloodline again at WrestleMania. Unless perhaps Jacob Fatu winds up winning that Elimination Chamber because he is in a qualifying match, I believe, Friday. So Cody got attacked, but I don't really think that's anything to be alarmed about. I'm hoping that maybe they do like Solo Sikoa against Jacob Fatu, and Jacob beats him and he becomes, you know, this new leader or something like that. Either way, Jacob Fatu has got to have a big match at WrestleMania. I think it's still a stretch that he would win the chamber. And so he might not be in it. It's a triple threat. I want Jacob in the chamber because he's going to do some crazy shit in there. But is Jacob a guy you want to eat a pin? You know, so if Jacob isn't going to win the chamber, I might not put him in the chamber right now. But, you know, then again, he is in there with Punk and Cena and Rollins. He's in the fucking main events. He can take a pin from Rollins or something. It's not gonna bury Jacob in any way. And plus, you know, he can do some kick-ass moonsaults off the top of those pods. But it's also possible that, you know, maybe it winds up just being Strowman. No, it's probably going to be Priest. Yeah, it's going to be Priest. I think Priest is going to win on Friday and qualify. Him and Drew will be in the chamber, and then whatever happens between them in the chamber will set up what we're assuming is their Mania program. Although I'm not completely ruling out Drew McIntyre to win that thing yet either. So we'll see. Basically what we saw on Friday Night SmackDown didn't seem to upset me the way it did everybody else, but that's often the case. Again, before we get into Raw, a couple of tidbits about AEW. Dynamite and Collision, I thought Wednesday and Saturday were really solid shows. I think Collision was better than Dynamite, but Dynamite was good. It was much better than the week before, a show that I completely skipped because I had to work, and I asked you guys how Dynamite was, and I was also reading the social media reaction to the show, and it was dog shit. I mean, this is one of the worst fucking Dynamites we've ever seen. It was boring as all hell, and I'm like, well, good. I guess I won't watch it. And it wasn't all coming from the Bad Faith, because I don't listen to the Bad Faith. I've blocked most of them. But sometimes, their little cunty asses can push through. But I wasn't listening to them. I was listening to people that I respect, people with rational thoughts and human adult emotions and regular people saying that the show was a pile of dog crap. So I was like, I'm not going to watch dog crap. But this week, it was much better. And they had the really fun brawl that opened the show. They had that kick-ass one, a couple weeks ago with Kenny and Ospreay. But the one that opened on Dynamite, I loved because it started kind of in the parking lot, and it was Renee Paquette, interviewing, I think, Rated FTR, right? And then they were confronted by the Death Riders, and then everybody starts brawling, and Marina Shafir grabs Renee and just runs her off camera. And I just love that. That's Moxley giving the orders. We're going to be fighting around my wife. It's your job to keep her safe. And I just kind of love that little addition there. Good stuff. The main event had Ricochet defeating Swerve Strickland. So Ricochet continues to prove that in terms of his creative and professional goals in his wrestling career, this was the right move. He's getting the opportunity to do a whole lot of stuff that he just would not be doing in WWE. And this was a fun main event. He kind of put his hands up on like the Swerve Stomp and kind of hit an incidental low blow, which allowed him to nail Swerve and pick up the win in the main event. And I'm glad they gave Ricochet the win there. That was good stuff. We saw the Ass Boys, the Gun Club, showing up and confronting the Hurt Syndicate and wanting a tag team title shot, or at least a match against them. And MVP agreed that match is going to happen next week. Ass Boys versus Hurt Syndicate. So we'll see what happens there. I certainly can't see the Guns picking the tag titles up over the Hurt Syndicate right now, but they are back. Another cool thing that we've been seeing on TV lately in AEW is the rise of Harley Cameron, who is just a tremendously talented person, and she's been hilarious lately with the guitar, and now she's got the Sasha puppet, kind of like Puppet H, but it's Puppet Sash, or Puppet Mercedes, I guess, is what I meant to say. So she's got the Mercedes puppet, and so she's using that backstage with Renee. Mercedes shows up from behind. They talk a little bit, and then Harley has got like the big concert on Collision on Saturday night that they kind of hype up. And the coolest thing that we saw on Dynamite on Wednesday was Toni Storm performing as Mariah May, defeating Queen Aminata. So it's going to be Toni Storm against Queen Aminata. Mariah May is on commentary, as guest commentator for this. And then Justin Roberts introduces Toni Storm playing the role of Mariah May, and she comes out in Mariah's gear. She's got hair extensions in. She looks exactly like her, except for two noticeable differences that Mariah May kept pointing out on commentary. And if you think about it real hard, you know what those two differences are. It didn't matter. They're both hot as balls. And you know what I mean? Hot as hell, I should say. And so Mariah then has a pretty good match with Queen Aminata, puts her down, beats her. Toni does this. And Mariah, watching on is a little bit confused and definitely offended by all of this. And then after the match, she kind of storms off upset while Toni Storm lays in the ring. And when she came out too, she did Mariah's whole entrance. She put her finger all the way down her mouth. It was great. And then she's kind of laying there on the mat when it's over, kind of like sucking on her finger, looking at Mariah May. It's so good. Like I said earlier, if these two do not main event Grand Slam, I'm going to be fucking pissed. Because it's not like, they've really fumbled a lot with the promotion of this event. So if you can't have the women main event here, where the hell can they? So especially when you're champions in a tag and you got, it's just do it. So I hope that it's the main event at Grand Slam because the whole thing's been great. And they weren't done. They do more stuff on Collision on Saturday. Next week on Dynamite, we have MJF taking on Dustin Rhodes. They had a big promo battle on Dynamite as well, which I liked a lot more than the Jeff Jarrett ones. If Tony Khan has any sort of crazy idea to put the world championship on a 90-year-old, I wouldn't put it on Jeff Jarrett. I would put it on Dustin. Dustin has never had a world championship. Jeff Jarrett has booked himself as a 25-time world champion. Fuck him. Dustin Rhodes, if they gave him a 2-week run with the AEW world title, I would get behind that way more than anything they've been teasing with Jeff Jarrett. Now, I personally don't think either one of them are going to win, but would win the title, but I would prefer it if it was Rhodes over Jarrett, to be perfectly honest. So MJF and Dustin have their little deal, and they set up their match for next week on Dynamite. We're also going to get Undisputed Era versus the Death Riders in a trios title match. They set that up on Collision on Saturday. And, of course, we have the Hurt Syndicate taking on the Ass Boys for the championships, I think. I think it's a title match. On Saturday, good Collision. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I just heard really, really good things about it. So I checked out a couple of things. I saw the Moxley, promo where he does not want to give Copeland a title shot. So eventually we're going to have to get to that. That's probably going to be the Revolution match, I'm assuming. And then Mariah May was back in action. This time she's taken on a Toni Storm doppelganger, and she beats her. I forget the girl's name, but she kind of looked a little bit like Toni Storm. So she beats her, and then after the match, she's putting lipstick on her, and she's got this like black shirt or something that's kind of over her. And then Luther comes out. Luther returns, comes down to the ring. He's got like a shoe on a pillow, and Mariah's looking at him. And while she's looking at Luther, Toni Storm comes in the ring and switches places with the doppelganger. So when Mariah May deals with Luther, she turns around to go continue the attack on her opponent, on the victim, and then she lifts her up to realize it's Toni Storm. Toni runs her off. It was great. The whole year-plus long saga of these two has been just really fun and enjoyable to watch. So I don't know at this point, though. I guess I should have a more definitive idea in my head by this point, but I don't know if she's going to win the title back or not. I guess she is. But, I just worry. I hate that she's going to win it back on like a taped show with spoilers out and all that. But that's the way it's going to have to be. There's going to be a nice big crowd there in Australia. And I think that would be a great moment for her. So I would assume she's going to win the championship back from Mariah May. It would make sense. I am definitely rooting for her. That's for sure. So here's what Grand Slam looks like. Actually, before we get to that, I was talking about Collision and Moxley and Cope, and then the doppelganger. But we also had that Harley Cameron concert where she's out there strumming the guitar, the money train, and then out comes Mercedes. They kind of brawl. I think Mercedes slaps her, and then Harley goes off on her, and then it was made official for Grand Slam. Harley Cameron will be taking on Mercedes Moné, and that, again, that is for the championship, right? Because Harley has only won one match on TV, so she's getting a title shot out of this, I believe, unless it's a non-title, and I misread that, but Harley will be facing Mercedes at Grand Slam. Collision also had Undisputed winning like a trios three-way match, and they were attacked by the Death Riders, Yuta and Pac and Claudio, by the trios champions, but they ran off. So as they were retreating, Undisputed Era laid down the challenge. That match will happen Wednesday on Dynamite. So it was good to see AEW bounce back with a solid Dynamite and a solid Collision. If you're a wrestling fan, these should be good shows to you. If you're a crazy bad faith, asscock, then of course nothing's going to be good to you. But if you're a pro wrestling fan who can think, dress yourself, speak English, fucking read words and stuff, you should watch these shows and be entertained by what you saw, at least this week. Last week's Dynamite was shit. A lot of Collisions, especially in the early days, weren't good, but Collision is starting to come into its own. They're starting to get their footing. And if you take the time to watch these shows and you are a fan of professional wrestling, you should like these shows. If you don't, something's wrong with you. So good stuff on both of the shows this week from AEW. That's nice to see. Hopefully, they can keep that going. But I'm working again on Wednesday, so if all of you guys tell me that Dynamite, sucked another bag of dicks again, then I'm not going to watch Dynamite. I'll watch it when it's good. So, like I said, here's what we have for Grand Slam. Mariah May versus Toni Storm. That better be the main event. Harley Cameron versus Mercedes Moné. That great tag, which is going to be fun. Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay versus Takeshita and Fletcher. you get the lotion out. Okada against Buddy Matthews, Continental Classic Championship. That's going to be good. And Cope and Jay White taking on Moxley and Claudio in a tag. So I guess it's just going to be a 5-match card. And that's about all you need. I mean, if it's a 2-hour show with commercials, yeah, and these are, 5, major matches. Harley and Mercedes won't go very long, but everything else will. So, yeah, that's probably all we're going to get for Grand Slam. Now, we can finally start reviewing Monday Night Raw, because it is Monday, and we did watch Raw tonight, but I thought I would save the Raw review for the end and just kind of catch up on stuff. Now, we could have gone deeper here. I mean, there was a lot of other things I could have talked about in the news this week, but, it's already Monday. I didn't want to, harp on Dynamite and Collision. It's already a new week. We got a new Dynamite and Collision coming up, so, and Grand Slam and a lot of other things. So I just kind of wanted to give an overview of a few things that I missed while I've been away. What's up to Juliet? No, you did not miss it. You're here just in time to smash that thumbs up button. Same for the rest of you. If you could do that for me, I'd appreciate it. Joshua Aparicio, I see you chiming in there with $2. Hayes Jameson versus Stephen Flo. Mania 50. Oh, man, Hayes Jameson main eventing WrestleMania 50. I don't know if Hayes Jameson is a man or a woman. I think it could go either way. Maybe it's Jameson's daughter. Remember Jameson? I remember Jameson. Wardlow and Rey Fenix, those are 2 other names that when I mentioned earlier, I said, if Tony Khan has got anybody else like that, anybody else that is in a similar boat, that's got issues, they're gone. At this point, it's just a matter of them finishing out their contract. It's not like you're ever going to use them or anything again. And if they're going to go to WWE, does it really matter? And so that's why some of the stuff, could be personal. It just depends on how Tony Khan feels like he was treated. And Tony Khan, I'm sure, pays his talent very handsomely. They might be creatively frustrated, but they're certainly taken care of financially and with having more freedom with not only their personal lives, but also, their wrestling characters and their directions and their storylines and that stuff. I feel like they've got it pretty good. And so maybe Tony Khan is from a mindset and it's not like I'm ripping this guy off. I'm paying him a ton of money, to basically do whatever the fuck he wants. So I don't understand why they're so unhappy. I'm going to make them finish out their contracts. But, I understand that mentality, but I also wonder what the difference is. If they're going to go to WWE anyway, what does it matter if they go now or in 8 months? With Rey Fenix, he's going there, so if you just want to keep him around to delay the process for spite, I can understand that in certain situations, not all of them, but if you feel like you're justified, then yeah, do what you got to do. But that's really silly because he'll just go to WWE anyway, and it's just going to happen. So I feel like putting that in the past. If you got your Wardlows, you got your Rey Fenixes, anybody else that's left now that Miro and Malakai and Starks are gone, anybody else that's in a similar boat to Wardlow and Phoenix, cut the fucking cord. Why? What's the difference? Save some money. Just get them out of here now. Let them go. Let them go to WWE and flood the damn free agent market. I'd cut Phoenix and Wardlow too. I said, there you go, WWE. Sign them all. Sign them all and start you getting them all lost in the shuffle all at the same time. So if I'm Tony Khan, I'm doing that. Tomorrow, I hope we hear that Wardlow and Rey Fenix are both gone from the company. That's what I would do. Let WWE bring them all in, and then they can juggle it all. I would do it. Anyway, tonight, Monday Night Raw was, I believe, in Nashville, Tennessee, right? And did you guys give me any ideas, or I'm sorry, give me any grades on the show, what you thought of Raw? I didn't see any in the chat. I didn't think the show was great. I felt like it had not much wrestling on it. And the wrestling that we did get, it was the women standing out here. That tag match was something else. But the show opened up with Jey Uso coming in from the crowd again, starting the yeet. He's got the orange yeet, comes all the way down. And now they're doing the thing where he's getting the encore yeet. And I feel like that's fun and all, but it's definitely forced. The fans are not insisting that he yeet a second time. They're kind of making it a thing, So it's half organic and half not. And so that bugs me a little bit because I felt like Jay did it the week before too. I think he waited there too long. Like how, when a wrestler is having a an emotional promo, or they're coming out after a big victory and they kind of stand there and soak it in for a while. And a lot of times you get this "you deserve it" chants, and this is awesome chants, or whatever. The fans are just showing you love, chanting your name. And a lot of times they pause and let the fans hear it again. And I feel like Jay kind of paused when he didn't have to, when he was doing his Royal Rumble victory promo. Like, the fans cheered their asses off when he came out for his entrance, but when he started to talk, they were listening. And then he paused as if the fans were being too loud, but they weren't. And then they kind of got louder. So I feel like sometimes they force it a little bit, just a little bit annoying. I don't think the encore yeets are necessary, but they're fun. And wrestling is all about fun. So if you're in the crowd that night, you're definitely going to want the yeet entrance twice. So we got that. Standing up on the table now. During the second time they're playing his entrance, whole crowd's yeeting, and here comes Gunther. Trips Jey Uso, takes his legs out from under him. Uso hits the table. Gunther attacks him, beats the shit out of him, brings him in the ring, hits him with the power bombs, and leaves. And then Jey Uso gets on the mic as he's laying there on the mat, beaten, laying down, and says, "Gunther, I choose you." So we kind of knew that was going to be the case. Gunther is kind of forcing the issue too. If his character is coming out there and attacking Jey Uso, maybe that's what Gunther wants. Maybe Gunther's character feels that Uso, based on the field in the chamber so far, would be the easier opponent. So he's going to, gaslight him into picking him. But you kind of knew it was going to be Gunther anyway. And I do like that he picked Gunther, because I've talked about the importance of trying to get that championship on an equal level to the WWE. And a lot of fans might say, "Good mic work, you're crazy. The World Heavyweight Championship will never be as important as Cody's title. It's a brand new title." I know, but they've done it before. In 2002, when they brought back the big gold, they brought in WCW's championship. And within 2 years, that belt was main eventing WrestleMania 20, Madison Square Garden. It wasn't Vince's belt, Vince's dad's belt in the main event. It was the NWA belt in the main event. That's crazy. And that belt around Triple H's waist was able to get on an even playing field with the WWE title. So I think it's important for one of these years for the Royal Rumble winner to face and to challenge whoever the World Heavyweight Champion is. So Jey Uso challenging Gunther, I think that's a good move. And I think at some point, WWE should try to boost the importance of the World Heavyweight Championship. I don't think Jey Uso winning the Rumble and challenging for it alone is going to do that. You have to have the belt around the waist of a Cody or a Roman or a Cena or something like that. But at some point, you'll get there. Jay challenging for it now, at least it always leaves it open every year with the Rumble in the Chamber. Who's going to challenge for the championships? At least you don't know, because every year the Rumble winner is going to challenge for the undisputed title, and now they're changing it up, and I like that. So Elimination Chamber being a big show in Toronto, a dome show, that's going to be a big deal. So they're having Cody's belt be the focal point of that, and I like it. I like switching it up. So it still remains to be seen if they can get the World Heavyweight Championship, closer, or move it away from the stigma of the secondary title where it's currently sitting. But until they do that, or until it main events at WrestleMania, I should say, it is going to be hard to do that. But now we know what the World Heavyweight Championship match will be for WrestleMania, and it's our first match announced. Jey Uso versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. They showed the graphics, so we got an idea of what they're going to look like now with the wrestlers' heads in the playing cards. And that match is set. So now that I think Cole said 68 days, right, is what he said, until WrestleMania. So that's a long time to build this. And 68 days out, I feel like Jey Uso is going to win the championship where we're sitting right now. So what do you do between now and 68 days from now to make this whole thing a little bit less predictable? And then Gunther is going to go on a little mini WrestleMania streak here, or losing streak. Unless they go with Gunther, putting down Jey Uso, just like Cody got put down by Roman at 39. They could do that, but then it has to make you wonder when Jey will ever win a championship, unless the match with Gunther is a loss and then he wins it after WrestleMania or something like that. But we'll see. It's going to be Jay and Gunther, and now Cody will officially face whoever wins the Elimination Chamber. We had Rhea Ripley being interviewed by the lovely Kathy Kelly. My God, Kathy and Jackie tonight, both of them. Moment of silence, please. So Ripley's interviewed by Kathy Kelly. Io shows up, and she's mad about what happened last week because Ripley kind of cost her. Io said, "You cost me my shot, and now I'm coming for you." I'm like, okay. So Io's pissed. We kind of knew that she would be. Then it was time for the tag match. It's Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez taking on Io Sky and Dakota Kai. This was a super fun match. Very fun. Fans were into it. I've really been enjoying the work of Liv Morgan lately. She's been doing a great job. Io is always solid in there, and this was fun. And Morgan, I didn't even see where it happened, but she got busted in the face. I thought it might have been at one point she was, like the Cesaro swing. I think it was Raquel was using her as like a swinging battering ram or whatever. And maybe when she caught Dakota, she got hit in the face or something. I didn't really see where the injury took place, but she got a gash, I think over her right eye. And she was bleeding heavily all over the side of her face. So the fact that they were still, or that she was able to finish the match without issue and still have the match be as awesome as it was a tribute to Liv, because she's really been tearing it up lately. She's been kicking ass, and I think this is like the second time in a couple of weeks where we've seen some blood on her, and it's made the match better. It hasn't been like an obstacle or a hindrance or, oh shit, it's made it better. And I think she's doing the best work of her career right now, and that match was fun. She did lose. She got pinned. She got hit with the over the moonsault by Io Sky for the win, but she finished the match. She's tough as hell, and I'm still hoping that Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez will wind up winning the tag team titles. That's what I think should happen. So maybe just book that at Mania. If they want to give them a Mania match, it'll probably be a multi-woman thing. What I would do just to get enough people on the card, I would book a fatal four-way for the tag titles at Mania, have that be the first match on night one, and have Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez win the titles. That's what I do. New Day cut a promo in the crowd, or an interview with Jackie. They run her off, and they're mad that Rey Mysterio is getting a chamber qualifier, and they are not. So that kind of gave us a clue that we were probably going to see them maybe interfere in the main event. And I always thought that the New Day were just going to wind up winning the tag team titles. So maybe WWE is purposely keeping them away from the tag team championships, like they have bigger things for them. They're considering this turn a bigger deal, and they're going to still try to coexist as single stars. As soon as War Raiders won the championships from Judgment Day, I'm like, oh, well, they just want them to transition them to New Day. But they're kind of doing stuff with the Creeds right now. And the Creeds, I thought, had a chance to win the titles tonight on Raw. So maybe the New Day aren't penciled in to win the tag team titles. But I would maybe have them, if they don't do anything with like Big E at WrestleMania, if there's not some big angle that they're going to do for Mania that somehow involves Big E, which at this point I don't think it will, then I would maybe have them win the championships too at WrestleMania. Maybe another multi-man deal. Maybe do a four-way for the women on one night and a four-way for the men on the other for the tag titles. But shit, you got two men's tag titles. But yeah, I would have the New Day maybe do that. Otherwise, they're going to continue their issue right now with Rey Mysterio. And I thought that maybe they would be the one to cost him the match later. But then again, Logan's a quality enough star that he probably doesn't need help beating Rey. We had another elimination chamber qualifier for the women. It was Bayley defeating Lyra Valkyria. This is a pretty good match too. Really good. It was kind of like a roll-up counter for the win. Lyra went for like a crucifix, and Bayley kind of leaned into it, wound up pinning her. And a nice little, show respect there at the end between the two friends. And they also announced that next week on Raw, Roxanne Perez would be facing Raquel Rodriguez in a qualifier, and Roxanne is getting this because of the performance she had in the Royal Rumble, setting the record for the longest time ever, so good for her. AJ Styles is back, and you don't want none. He came out to cut a promo and be back in a WWE ring. He was interrupted by Dominic and Carlito. Of course, a brawl ensues after they talk shit to each other, and Carlito ate a phenomenal forearm from AJ. And then backstage, AJ is back there with Adam Pearce, and he wants Dominic in a match. And Pierce agrees, and that match will be happening next week as well. AJ against Dom Dom. We get a Rollins interview in the crowd with Jackie. So first she's up there with New Day, and now she's up there with Seth Rollins. Of course, his match, Chamber qualifier match next week, is against Finn Balor. Finn Balor shows up to confront him. They exchange some words and all of the pay-per-views that they've faced each other on. And that match is set for next week. I don't really think it's going to be that tough to predict. Rollins is going to be in that chamber. He's absolutely going to be in that chamber. So Rollins should get the victory over Balor next week. Oh, I should have mentioned, after AJ got that match with Dominic, he came face-to-face with Braun Breaker, who was wearing a cowboy hat for some reason. But they just kind of looked at each other, and then Braun walked away. So I don't know what that's teasing. If maybe AJ is going to get a Intercontinental Championship match at Elimination Chamber, if maybe that's a tease for maybe a Mania match. I mean, Breaker, what do you do with Breaker at WrestleMania? He's the Intercontinental Champion, so I would not have Braun Breaker lose the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania. He's not on that type of trajectory. He hasn't held the belt for a ton of time where he feels like he's ripe. He doesn't have an opponent that's really had his number other than, Jey Uso kind of trading the title with him a few months back. So with Breaker, putting him in there with a veteran that he could beat might be a good idea. It's kind of like how they tried to do Austin Theory with Cena a couple years ago. And maybe if you put Breaker and AJ in an Intercontinental Championship program, that might be one of the more entertaining Intercontinental Championship matches in WrestleMania history. And that's saying something, since there's been a couple of good ones. So maybe it's that far off the tease. Maybe that's the seed they planted, or maybe it's planted for something more short-term, just like a TV match or Elimination Chamber. Don't know. Up next was the War Raiders Creed Brothers Tag Team Championship match. And this was kind of a weird finish. The Creeds used the belt. I think it was Julius came in and blasted, maybe Eric with the title, and referee rang the bell and DQ'd him. So the War Raiders got the win and kept the titles, but Creed Brothers kind of posed with him and all of that. So it feels like this issue is not over. And based on how they're setting it up, I feel like the Creeds might actually win the titles here, but I thought it was going to be the New Day, would be the heel team taking it off the War Raiders. If the Creeds wind up winning the titles, then I think there is no plans, at least for right now, for the New Day to win the tag team titles unless they head over to SmackDown and win them there in the transfer window. Backstage, we get Rhea Ripley and Io Sky again. And Ripley tells Io that she went and talked to Adam Pearce, and she is going to give Io Sky a championship match. And she's going to get that match on the Raw after Elimination Chamber. So I thought last week we might get that at the pay-per-view or the PLE, but apparently it's going to be Raw next week. Or I'm sorry, the week after, or the Monday after Elimination Chamber. And then out comes CM Punk. It's his turn to make his appearance tonight. He was advertised for the show just to do a promo. And he comes out and he talks about the chamber, talks about John Cena not having to qualify for it and just getting in. That kind of bugged him. And then he's confronted by Logan Paul. So Logan Paul and Punk, we finally get a little back and forth between them. Punk absorbs the shade that Paul throws at him and throws it right back. If they ever did enter into a program, the promos would be tremendous because both of those guys can hold their own against the other. Paul doesn't seem to get rattled because Punk can be very good and deliberate and, kind of on point. But Paul can handle it, and then whatever Paul can throw at Punk, Punk can definitely handle it. And so that makes for interesting promos. And this was fun. But Logan kind of came out there because he's in the main event. He's facing Rey Mysterio in the Chamber qualifier. And so he just interrupts Punk and they back and forth a little bit. And, when you look at the Chamber, Punk talked about who was in it. And it really makes you wonder kind of what they're going to do. I feel like it would be easier if Punk didn't have that favor hanging over our heads. So unless that favor is turning out to be not as earth-shattering as we thought, then I'm still curious what that means. But Logan, he's going to be in there too because he beat Rey Mysterio in the main event, nailed him with his right hand and his finisher. I think there's a name for the finisher now. He also hit him with the what is it? The moonsault and battery, that fall away moonsault off the second rope. I cannot believe he can fucking do that. And that's crazy. So him and Ray hit that, which was just tremendous. So Logan is an athlete. He's a douchebag, but he's an athlete and a half. That's for sure. So he winds up beating Rey Mysterio. And let me know what happened with y'all's Netflix, because at the very, very end of the show, as Rey is selling in the ring, he's attacked by the New Day. And we get about 2 seconds of the attack and it goes off air. So I don't know if any of you got more than the 2 seconds, but that's how Raw went off the air tonight, with the New Day beating up Rey. So we'll see what kind of match that leads to and who Rey Mysterio might get to help him against these two guys, if it's just Penta or if they have plans to maybe bring in somebody else in. I also saw today, and I don't know who to credit because I just saw it when I was scrolling, but I remember it. I guess they were going to do an angle with Chad Gable, maybe going down to Mexico, maybe doing something with AAA, or finding or locating a legendary Lucha Libre star to help him against Penta. But apparently that whole thing might have been dropped. So don't know the story on that. But Gable last week did say goodbye to the Creeds and Ivy, right? And he's like, I'm going to be gone for a while, but when I come back, I expect championships around all your waists. So maybe they're not doing that now. I don't know if anybody has any input on that. Leave it there in the chat. So yeah, next week we've got Roxanne versus Raquel in the EC qualifier. And then we also have now John Cena, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, and Logan Paul all qualifying for the Chamber. Next week, we're going to have Seth Rollins qualify after he beats Finn Balor. And then apparently on SmackDown, it's going to be Jacob Fatu, Strowman, and Priest for the final spot. I think Priest should qualify for that. What I'm hoping is maybe Jacob and Strowman cancel each other out, and Priest winds up pinning Strowman and qualifies, and that'll probably be your 6. And that's a good damn 6. So if it does turn out to be John Cena, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul, Seth Rollins, and Damian Priest, let's assume that's the 6. Who do you got? Who do you got? I mean, at this point, I would kind of root for Punk. I think Punk and Cody would be a lot of fun. Who else in that? I think it's got to be Punk or Cena. Because if it's Drew, Drew, that would just be weird. I mean, maybe Drew, is still hoping that he can get that WrestleMania moment that was robbed of him during COVID. And now he can get it here, beating Cody in the main event. But are we going to get a heel winning the title in the main event of night 2? And what happens with Jey Uso and Gunther? I mean, I'm assuming they're the night 1 main event. You got to assume they are. And now WWE with the 2-night Mania, they can technically say that more people have main evented WrestleMania if you count night 1 as a main event, and they now do. So Cody is going to have to be the night 2 main event. And I think if it's Punk or if it's Cena, that would be a big-time match. I even though Drew is in the mix, I just can't see it being him. I think McIntyre and Priest, that's probably hugely disappointing for Drew to work with Priest at Mania, but I feel like that's the best option. And then it might have to be John Cena. And then Punk can work with Seth and Roman. Because if it's all going to be, there's got to be a 3-way in there somewhere, And so we did hear about Punk and Rollins and Roman. You could get that match, but again, that's going to be your semi-main. And then I guess it's going to be John Cena and Cody Rhodes. If it is John Cena, I'm begging you, get a tan. Go in the tanning bed. Please. And also, that hair, go back to like 06 Cena, where it was mostly buzzed, or it was real short, or whatever year it was real short. Go back to that, get a tan, and I'll accept you. I think that's very necessary. So yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah, Britt Baker and Keith Lee. 2 other names. I don't know what's going on with Keith. I know he would love to get out of there, I'm sure, since Mia is there. And Britt Baker, whatever's going on with her, I wish her the best. I don't know if Tony Khan, if he's decided, that he's not going to use her anymore because for various reasons. So if you're not going to use her, then just cut her loose. Well, then she'll go to WWE. I'm like, well, she's going to go to WWE anyway, unless she's got like 2.5 years left and you're literally going to make this woman sit on her ass. I know she's not well liked, and we've heard rumors of her not being popular in the locker room, but that's really not our business. So I've met Britt. I like her, but I don't share a locker room with her, so I can't speak to that. But if Britt went to WWE, I think that would be good for her, because if she does have this reputation, or if she was, kind of the queen in AEW and she let that get to her head a little bit, and she had some ego issues, that'll get checked out in WWE. Those will evaporate in that system. So would be good for her. She might turn into a completely different performer in the WWE if she goes there. So yeah, they're all in the same category. If AEW has got more talent, obviously they do, like your Starks and your Miros and your Blacks. They got a Wardlow, and they got Britt, and they got Keith Lee, and they have Rey Fenix, talent like that. Just get them all out. And I think that would be kind of funny. If Triple H is kind of waiting for one by one all of these guys and women becoming available, and then Tony Khan's like, fuck it, take them all at once, and then they don't know what to do. Oh shit, it's too many. So that's what I would do if I was Tony Khan. I'm like, just release them all at once. Say, have fun, WWE. Have fun signing all this new talent, figuring out shit to do with them while you're already booking Mania, and it's like kind of flooding your pipes type of thing. So, like the wet bandits put the paper towels in the drain, or put the towels in the drain and flooded the house. That's what he should do. That's what he should do. All right. Well, I think that did it for my notes. I think I'm pretty much done there. We didn't have a ton to get into, but the releases were interesting on both sides. We had some interesting ones in WWE and AEW, and now the free agent market just got a big boost. There's a lot of stuff in there. So, if you're an indie promotion, maybe try to get these guys for one booking before they get signed. That's what I try to do. Heel Cody Rhodes versus John Cena is what Zane G wants. Okay. Yeah, and I think a lot of people are thinking it's Cena. Here's one problem with Cena. I mean, maybe it's a problem. You guys tell me. Do you think that if John Cena, and this is Zayn, I don't think Zayn's idea is what is going to happen. But if it is, then great. If not, do you think that Cena and Cody in a program together for 50 days is going to just be a little bit too much white meat, baby face, fruity pebble, goody two-shoe, I love you. No, I love you, man. No, I love you more. I loved your dad. I mean, we're going to get a promo where they're both going to cry. You realize that, right? If Cena and Cody cut a promo against each other in their Mania build, at least one of them, they're both going to cry. They might even start making out. So is that what we want? I like Cena. I've always had his back. I'm going to enjoy watching him ride off into the sunset this year. I'm a massive Cody fan, but even I have a limit to how much Fruity Pebble I can take. And I think if they just get in the ring, and don't get me wrong, they will turn up the heat. They will start throwing some live rounds in their promo. They will get to that point, but it's going to be mostly built upon respect. It's going to be mostly built upon mutual respect. The top star of yesterday versus the top star of today. They're essentially the same character. They're a very, very deliberate babyface who loves kids. Kids dress up as them, emulate them. They're very good with the children and doing the good deeds and the make-a-wishes and the going on Kimmel, all that stuff. Cody has fit into that role that Cena had for so long perfectly. So a lot of these promo battles, I think, or not battles, but the build up to the match should probably be largely predictable. And we're not going to get hit with too many oohs and ahs in a program like that. A lot of fans will be into it. I will invest in it. I will respect Cena and Cody and invest in it and hope that I'm not pretending that I'm liking it, But I think if we got that, I don't know if the fans would really love it because it's just too much love. You got to have some sort of animosity there. You got to have some sort of heat for the match, and there could just be a little bit too much I love yous going on with something like that. That wouldn't be the case with CM Punk. Cody and Punk would definitely talk about how much they respect one another, and that would definitely be in the background of the entire feud. But once it got going, and once they start getting into the nitty-gritty and we get closer to Mania and the one-upsmanships and all of that, and then some of the, like I said, the live rounds start flying, I think it could be way more unpredictable than Cena and Cody. Punk and Cody, who knows what they could do. And we saw that. We've gotten a couple of tastes of that last year. They had that big promo and everybody wanted it. This year, same thing. It gives you that glimpse. It gives you that image. Cody and Punk, that's a good damn looking main event for WrestleMania. And I think a lot of fans are going to get behind that. So what do you do with your WWE? You would probably want to go with the match that the fans are most likely going to want to see. They should run polls. They probably are. Which would you prefer? Cody Cena, Cody Punk? You tell me in the chat. I would love to see Cody and Cena, but I have said, I've maintained for the past several months now that I would have John Cena face Cody in his final match. In December, I've had the whole thing planned out because WWE has done themed pay-per-views in December before, 97 and 98. Do another one. You Can't See Me. A PLE dedicated to John Cena. It's named after him, a special December PLE. That's going to be his final match, and he'll defend his championship, which by that point he may have won if he wins the Money in the Bank and then wins the championship in like late summer or early fall, has a 3-month run with the title, and then in his final match he's going to defend it against Cody Rhodes, where he has a chance to either pass the baton to Cody or retire as a champion. That would be fun. I would much prefer that scenario over John Cena versus Cody at WrestleMania. I think my scenario is more fun. Where WrestleMania, do we want these guys making out in the ring for 6 weeks? I just think that might be too much. So I like my idea. So if it's not going to be Cena, what the hell's Cena going to do? Who does he work with at this point if he doesn't work with Cody? Logan? I think that's the only possible opponent. Unless they throw him in like that 4-way. Because, we heard rumors of Punk and Rollins and Roman. Well, you can only have that match if those guys lose the chamber, Punk and Rollins, and you do Cena and Cody or something. But maybe it's Drew. But then what does Cena do? Where's Randy Orton? Looks like we're going to be getting Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn based on what we've seen lately. So where's Randy Orton? Does he show up last minute and become an opponent for Cena at WrestleMania? What about the pile driver? Does that get figured out? Does he go deal with Kevin Owens? Or does he work with Cena at WrestleMania? I don't know. What do you guys think is going to happen? Any of you on Twitter? Book me your entire WrestleMania card and send it to me. And I'll look at it, see what I think. Rumors are saying the PLE will be ruthless aggression. Or are we saying that? No kidding. Is that really a thing? My idea is actually happening. We know that this far out. There actually is going to be a December pay-per-view. And apparently it's called Ruthless Aggression. That's just as good as You Can't See Me. It's the same thing. That's a phrase that everybody who remembers John Cena's career, that's one of the first things he did. A little cheesy, but ruthless aggression. And then he went nuts. Remember on Angle? That was his whole debut. That would be a perfect name for the pay-per-view. Ruthless aggression. Although John Cena, when he was on top, in his most fruity of fruity pebbles ever, or his fruitiest of fruitiness of the pebbles, that's what I'm trying to say, he was anything but ruthless or aggressive. He'd get a little ruthless in the ring if he had to, but he wasn't out there, cursing out kids in the front row and shit. So I thought You Can't See Me might be better, or one of his other catchphrases. Ruthless aggression. See, that's awesome. That means that's where his last match is going to be. Doug Funny says it's only a rumor. We'll see. But I like it. Juliet, I've talked about these names. We already went through them before you joined because you was late. But if you rewind a bit, you will hear me talk about Hayes Jamison. I'm really hoping that Hayes Jamison wins the championship at WrestleMania 50, whether it's a guy or girl. We don't know if it's a man or a woman, but Hayes Jamison is the best name out of all those. It could be the main event of WrestleMania or the best porn star in the business. It could go either way on that with a name like Hayes Jamison. Shell shock. Cena facing Logan at his final Mania seems gross. It does. It does seem gross. So, the match with Cody might be better. I just don't know if the fans are going to love those promos. I mean, they're going to be cool for a little while, but they might wear off. But yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. I mean, at this point, if Cena doesn't win and does not challenge Cody, then what does Cena do? That's the big question. And then if it's not going to be Logan Paul, the Logan Paul match I think would make sense for the box office-ness of it. I mean, these are two household names, to be honest. They are. They're household names. I think it's safe to say most people know who John Cena is. And damn sure everybody knows who Logan Paul is. So it's just a match of household names. There's a household name. Bubblegum Shrimp. So, you could do that just for the media rounds, the hype, the build. Most of that whole build could be done off TV. Could be out of the ring. Think about that. They could build their entire match in talk show interviews, podcasts, media appearances, whatever they're doing. Cena could be shooting a movie and cut a promo right there on set. I don't know, something like that. They could make their issue more public. They could both appear on Kimmel. They could both appear on Rogan. Do everything, and try to make it feel real. Maybe that could be fun. But I think I'm with you, Shell Shock. It would be too gross. Too gross for my taste. What up, man? Good to see you. New one. Thank you so much for the 5. I feel like this year's Mania won't be as good as last year's, honestly. It's starting to feel that way. When they had this thing booked for Vegas, it felt like, oh, that's going to be Rock. He's going to be a big part of this. And I thought a lot of what we saw last year was going to carry over into this year to complete the saga. And now it feels like everything's in a completely different direction. So it feels like this year there's not really a chance for The Rock to come in. And even if he does, who gives a shit? Because he wouldn't be messing up the main matches, especially the title matches, unless he shows up and wins the chamber last minute, which we had, we did hear the talk about the Rumble, how The Rock could come in at number 31 and he could say, I'm on the board of directors and I'm just making up my own rules. That would actually be pretty cool. And you could do the same thing in the chamber. Whoever wins, who's spent after going through all of those guys, is laying there in the middle of the ring like Cena, who wins it. And he's going to WrestleMania, and Cena might be laying there bloody but victorious. And then The Rock's music hits. He gets on the mic and he says, there's one more entrant. Instructs the referee to ring the bell, picks up John Cena's bloody carcass, hits him with a rock bottom and pins him. And The Rock is going to WrestleMania to face Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes versus The Rock. WrestleMania 41 Night 2 main event. There you go. You could do that. You could do that. But I think The Rock is likely not going to be involved, and that's great. And now they're starting to lay the groundwork for their big matches to where now even if Rock came back in, he'll be doing something else. He's not going to screw anything up that they have planned. And that wasn't the case last year. So hopefully this Mania can turn out to be just as good as last year. At least it's indoors. It's not out in the cold. We'll see. I think it comes down to just who wins that chamber. We'll know a lot. We'll know a lot after the chamber. Zane G, I am going to decide my AEW fate this week. It's been a crazy last few weeks. If you know, you know. So I kind of put that on the back burner, but it's time to start thinking about Revolution and Dynamite again, which is here in just a couple of weeks. And I'm probably going to go to that one for sure. And might be going to Revolution as well. I will let you know real soon. I got a cracked windshield, and I have a very expensive windshield. So I know I got this big, ugly 4-figure expense coming, and I'm like, do I want to go on a wrestling trip now? So I'm just trying to be responsible, but we'll see. I'm definitely looking at tickets. Cena versus Obafemi. I mean, no. I like Obafemi. Unless they want to give him, to give him a rub, then yeah. But it's kind of out of nowhere. I don't know where he'd fit into Cena's, retirement run. I would just let Obafemi do his thing. He's going to be so good. He's so big and massive and believable. Right on. Okay. Well, I think that is a wrap on tonight's podcast. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. I apologize for not being here on Saturday. It was just a busy weekend, and thank you to everyone who joined us tonight and for everyone who saw the mic drop yesterday. And we will be back to our Sunday watch-alongs this Sunday as we watch St. Valentine's Day Massacre when Vince takes that crazy bump off of the cage. And you'll probably hear from me this week because I've got shorts in the can. I've got Thursday off. You might see me. We might do something. Plus, I'm in the middle of plotting and planning WrestleMania season that's going to be starting on the channel in 1 month, March 10th. So it's going to be a fun-ass time this year. You guys have a great rest of your Monday night. Take care of yourselves, and I'll be catching you later on this week. Peace.